Frank chose to enlist at the age of 18 with his cousin.
My mother died when I was 9 from cancer. She was 28. She smoked a lot. I mean, that's why I don't smoke. So I got passed around family to family. I lived in New York. My aunt in California finally said, "We'll take him," because she was my godmother. So I came here. I had a cousin who was 6 months older than me, so we grew up together. So we enlisted in 1967.
As Frank and his entire convoy arrived in Vietnam, they received heavy enemy fire while trying to get out of their plane.
My cousin and I in Vietnam, and the picture on the back is the morning that we got wounded together. We got shot together, actually blown up, let me put it to you that way. The first day we got there, they shot at the jet we landed on. We were there on a American Airlines jet, and the enemy was around, excuse me, Da Nang area. That's what the name of the capital was there. Saigon was down south, we were Da Nang. As soon as we got there, it was like 110 degrees out. And my cousin looked at me and goes, "We effed up," and because they were shooting at us. And we didn't have any weapons yet. So yeah, it was kind of what we expected, but it was different. It was a shock. We knew we were in trouble. And that was right before, I don't know if you ever heard of the Tet Offensive. That's the New Year's for the Chinese. That's when we got hit in 1968 with the big Tet Offensive.
Due to heavy firing, Frank was put in a coma.
I got shot twice through the mouth, took the jawbone off, got shot in the shoulders. A bunch of times in this leg, had my kneecap taken off. They finally had to cut this off. Bullet wounds in it, and it caught on fire from the explosion. Didn't feel it, but so I was in a coma for 8 months.
Frank and all new military recruits were put through tough training in short amount of time because they did not have much time to prepare.
Back in those days, it was rough. It's still rough now. The Marines are probably one of the hardest training in the world. But back then, they used to punch you to get you to conform. Uh, the Marine Corps, we were known as the Fighting Cousins, my cousin and myself. We used to get in trouble all the time. And they told us we should go in the Marine Corps. That's why we went in. And in the Marine Corps, we used to stick up for each other. We fought a lot, other people. I don't know, I guess from being from New York and all that. But the Marine Corps was tough, and they were happy to have us. So yeah, the Marine Corps is the best.
Frank chose to enlist in the Marines.
Frank deployed in Vietnam with the U.S. Marines.
8 weeks in boot camp, and then to training, then they sent us out right away.
Frank's most memorable memory was coming home and just being alive.
Coming home and being alive. Um, we were always hungry, we were always afraid, and the weather was just bad. So yeah, that was the worst part. Good morning.
Frank still connects with his friends he made while serving in Vietnam.
My cousin and we call each other every day still. I still talk to the guys. We call once a week.
For free time in Vietnam, Frank and his friends slept.
Try to sleep. It was always like 4 hours on, 4 hours off, watch. I was in a gun tower. This is a picture of me with my gun. I had a 50-foot tower or bunker I was on. So basically, you didn't really, it's not like in the movies, these guys at the beach partying and all. We never had that. When you're out in the field, you're on a small outpost. So there really isn't that much entertainment, especially when the enemy's out there.
Frank's tour only consisted of traveling to Vietnam.
It's Vietnam. Yeah.
When Frank got home from the war, he was in the hospital.
I actually spent 27 months in the hospital altogether. So I was in and out for surgeries, trying to reconstruct the surgery and all that stuff. I was paralyzed. They told me I'd never walk again, and you don't tell somebody you're not going to walk again. It took me about a year. My cousin helped me. Then I took a couple years off, traveled across the states, then I got into real estate for 5 years. Then I joined the post office.
In Frank's effort to give back, he does chapter services with his wife and also is the leader of the Wounded Warrior Project for Orange County.
I do chaplain services for 5. I was the president of the Vietnam Veterans of America in Orange County for a year. So I'm still active doing that. Being a pastor, my wife and I founded the Wounded Warriors Ministry 10 years ago, so we travel 1,500 miles a month doing services.
After the war, Frank worked at the post office for 30 years.
Like I said, I did 30 years at the post office, 25 as a manager in Huntington Beach and Santa Ana, actually. When I became a pastor, I had to step out of that. I do about 3 to 5 funerals a week and speak at the schools. We just got back from San Diego. We work with 18 Indian tribes down there, so we help them too. It's all volunteer.
Frank attends reunions if they're local.
If they're local, we went to one in Las Vegas a few years ago, and then there was one in San Diego last year, but I'm not going to go to Florida. I mean,
Frank was awarded many medals due to his great bravery and extreme courageousness.
Making friends in Vietnam wasn't common practice because no one stayed around for very long due to dying.
Oh yeah, we have the President Unit Citation for our group. I was wounded 2 different times, so I have 2 Purple Hearts. The star means 2 of them, but they give you 2 different ones. Good Conduct Medal, I don't know how I got that. But then the Vietnam Campaign Medals. We weren't in it for the medals, but when you go to war, the big representation is everybody goes to fight for God and country, but you don't. When you get there, you're in combat, you're fighting for the guy on the left or the guy on the right of you. And now that's women. The women are there now, and it's, I don't know how they can do it, but you wind up fighting for, like I said, for the man on the left or the woman on the right of you.
Out of Frank's entire platoon, only him and 30 others made it out alive.
Here's a picture of the guys that made it out of our outfit, out of our platoon. That's all of us that are left out of 30 guys. My cousin, myself on the bottom. That's my cousin and me on top. We had that taken this year. He just retired as a professor, 35 years at the University of Missouri. Oh, wow. I retired after 30 years in the post office, 25 as a manager. I stepped down when I became a pastor. I couldn't work at the post office then, do what I was doing.
Frank remembers the day he got discharged from the Marines.
Actually, yeah, I was in the hospital when they discharged me. And they said, that's it, your time's up. So, took my sea bag and kicked me out. Yeah, I remember. I was up in Oakland at the hospital. Didn't like Vietnam veterans back then, so it was kind of hard getting a job.
Why was that?
The war, it was on TV every day. You don't see it here, the war that's going on, but every day they had combat on TV and watching people get killed. And then there were stories about killing women and children, which never really happened. It did to a degree, but we weren't aggressively looking for it. We got hit one time, a sniper hit us out of a village, so we opened up on the village. And in a war zone, if you know you're going to have combat in your home, you leave. But they didn't, so we kind of blew the place up, and then we found weapons buried. So during the day, they were friendlies. We call them friendlies. That night, they were the bad guys. we used to have a guy on our hill who was a Vietnamese barber, cut our hair for us and stuff. And I was out in an ambush one time and got a whole bunch of the bad guys, and he was one of them. We didn't know, how would you know? You can't tell.